We are at episode 7 of our UDL ERA video series. Karrie, how's it going?
It's going very well. Thank you, Dana. How are you today?
I'm doing great. It's fun, it's raining, and it's wonderful out. We have some really great guests today for our episode 7. Would you like to introduce them to everyone?
Absolutely. That'd be fantastic. We have the lovely Dr. Lisa Manley, who is our director of the Center for Teaching Excellence and the Online Studies team, who makes everything run behind the scenes with Blackboard behind Goodwin University. So I'm very, very happy to have Lisa here with us today. In addition to Lisa, we have the wonderful Dr. Sandi Coyne-Gilbert, and she is the program director for the Masters in Organizational Leadership. And we have been trying to get these two ladies here with us for quite some time. So I am just absolutely thrilled that you both could be here today. Thank you so much for joining us, especially during this crazy pandemic stressful time. So we appreciate your time today.
With the last 2 semesters, it was that every time we would have something set in stone, and then one or both of you would have to go off to a meeting. So I guess we really had to wait till we were all at home to make this happen.
Quarantine. So they couldn't go anywhere. They couldn't go anywhere.
Yes.
And we couldn't.
Right. Took COVID to get us together.
One of the awesome parts about getting to have you wonderful ladies here, and you guys run huge departments, is knowing that people at your level at Goodwin are universal design for learning gurus. So I would love to hear what it is that actually attracted both of you, even though you have no free time, to be able to, what drew you to universal design for learning?
UDL was something that was a natural progression. When you have students with differing abilities from very different backgrounds coming into a graduate program, they've gone to different schools, they have had horrible experiences usually with writing. We wanted to develop something that would enable them to have a means of expression that resonated with them. And UDL enables us to really offer people opportunities that otherwise we wouldn't have been able to, and to just not look at education as a box.
I had the opportunity to be part of the grant that started the whole UDL at Goodwin. I have, as an instructional designer, have used multiple means of with assignments and working towards the barriers for students and finding solutions for them. So it was natural for me to take the next step.
After you both had gone through the UDL training, and now it's something that's just part of your everyday life, how have you noticed over the past few semesters or years that it's changed your classes, besides just that one class that you've done all your other classes?
I was in the second cohort in UDL with Karrie, and as a result, I was in the process of rebuilding most of my courses anyway, because they were new. And I started to recognize that we should do something really different. So we call it the golden ticket, like in Willy Wonka. And we give students, when they come into the MSOL, their very own golden ticket. And we tell them, you have the choice of revising how you respond to any assignment. There are a certain number of assignments that I require be written assignments. So students are continuously building their ability to respond in writing and to become more profound writers. This enabled us to start to see things very differently. An interesting side note, as a result of our golden ticket, I have had a number of people who've approached me and said, I'm thinking about becoming an educator, because I think it opens the doors and it says you don't have to think just like anybody else. Again, getting rid of that box. And I think UDL, I was so busy trying to get the courses to mesh that I had forgotten that students really needed opportunities to be themselves.
So Lisa, can you tell us a little bit about, using UDL in your classes and how it's helped your students' learning? Have they noticed a change, a difference? Can you expand upon that a little bit, please?
It not only has changed my classroom, it has changed the way that we design our courses, because we have at Goodwin master courses that we create. And so once UDL came into the institution, we had started to reevaluate how our courses look. and starting to give different options. I would love to tell you about the course that I'm teaching now, OL 660, Leading Organizational Change, which this semester I got to co-teach with Sandi. Hence, we are here to talk about some great things that happened in that course. When I first started it, we were teaching from case studies for their final project. I've been working with Sandi from the get-go of the MSOL program and working on making changes happen within the different courses to be more effective for the student learning. And so this was a perfect course for us to make the final project a change plan where students got to put their input in about what kind of changes they would like to make to the program.
We did not want students to do something flat. We wanted them to see how their passion and their beliefs could actually make a difference. If you're going to be a leader, you better start understanding that your actions will have impact. We started to see this dynamic absolutely take off, where students started to say, you know what's wrong? It's discussion boards. Well, out of a statement, their discussion boards don't work. We've developed 3 entirely different approaches. One's called It's Your Turn to Drive, where we actually teach them how to construct their own discussion questions.
Nice.
And then they take the lion's share. We're there and we're monitoring things, but they're the ones who are having, that are running the discussion, that are asking the questions, that are keeping the dialogue going. Students loved it. They were fearful, but in their fear, we actually helped them to find the confidence. Of course, not everything is going to be changed, but a number of things could be. What this led us to is, here we are in a pandemic. What better time to teach a course like this? Crisis in Chinese is 2 brushstrokes. One is danger, the other is opportunity. And that's how we saw this, was what an incredible opportunity. So let's collaborate, let's set things up, and let's try to do things on a more dynamic basis. This particular course came, and almost immediately when pandemic hit, I saw changes in students, their ability to recall, their ability to understand, but also they were moving through mud. And because they were moving through mud, I had to change things up. I was lucky, I got a chance to study trauma-informed pedagogy, and I could apply everything that I learned with Lisa in this class. And Lisa we call each other the dynamic duo. And part of the reason we do is that there's nothing too crazy. We brainstorm all the time, and we'll sit down and we'll say, here's the problem. Okay, let's just talk about all the ways we can get around it.
Let's talk more in depth about the course that you guys created. Is there something specific within the course that you wanted to focus on for our interview today?
This semester, because we got to teach collaboratively, Sandi and I, which we love to do. We do. We were so excited. We revamped a lot of this course to work around the COVID-19 because we want to make it current, authentic, actual real life activities that are going on. And I know she was talking about trauma informed decision making. And so that was one of the first things, getting the temperature check of the students and making sure that they're okay, first of all, because we have to make sure that our students are ready to take on the learning. And if they're not, if they're dealing with the trauma and can't focus on the learning, then that's a problem. So we made that a first initiative. Every session, live session we had, is to do a temperature check. We also gave them It's Your Turn to Drive piece. So the first week we give them a question, we pose a question, and then the second week they scaffold with the information that they learn in the week 2. The third week, from this project that we're going to talk about, they actually got to pose the question to their peers. And so from the learning that took place, then they were going to ask the question that they wanted to know more about from their peers, which was such a great activity, and they loved it. And the depth of information that came out of that was just fabulous. It brings it to a whole different level. So week 3, I believe Sandi was already saying about the escape room. So she had developed where they went to this escape room, and I continued it in my hybrid courses. But of course, because COVID-19, we couldn't go to an escape room. And so we had to figure out, how are we going to make some kind of event that could be similar yet different and connect
You
them.
didn't just have them lock themselves in a room.
No,
And
fabulous.
We thought about it.
We did.
Thought about it.
If you know the dynamic duo mind, you never know where it's going to go.
Exactly.
So, and we wanted to focus, make sure that we were developing this around the UDL piece of it, the fostering collaboration and community, which is part of the why that we did this, the barrier of them being disconnected. We wanted to make sure that we could connect them somehow.
So you guys used Blackboard Collaborate?
Yes. And what we did is we designed all the curriculum around this experience. So we set up with trauma. We went into all the things about the pandemic, set the tone, also made it a safe environment to discuss what the pandemic meant or was currently meaning to you. That was part of it. And by doing that, we then set it up to go using the alignment with groups and putting different groups into different rooms. It's a logistical nightmare unless you have a Lisa Manley who can do it all. She just did it all. It was kind of like, Bewitched. She wiggled her nose and suddenly everybody was precisely where they were supposed to be.
She makes it look so easy.
This is fun for Lisa. This is what she does for fun.
To elaborate on what Sandi was saying, so we had to create this session where we gave them expectations. We gave them an opportunity to pick 3 different groups: insurance, education, and retail. They got to choose from. Had to create the elements for that. They had to put it in order, and they had to justify why that order was there. Again, there's no right or wrong answer, but there is a better process. There is a better order than not. And so, but we wanted to give them a chance in their breakout groups to create those. Provision, process and procedure, trauma-informed initiative, environment, and communication were the 5 areas that they had to talk about in their breakout sessions, and put them in the order that they felt that they would do if they were coming back to work as a leader and having to create a safe environment for their workers.
Did you guys have like a reflection piece afterwards to kind of hear how the students
Yes,
felt
we
about
did.
it?
Of course we did. This is where the discussion board came into play. So as it was your turn to drive, they got to first of all communicate what their thought process was of the actual activity. And then they got to pose a question to the students from that information, not only from the information of the activity, but also from the information of the week's material, the content that we offered. So again, it's about that scaffolding, that building of knowledge, which is also part of the how in the UDL process. We wanted to make sure that they were building up that knowledge so that they'll retain the information and think more critically.
This particular class is the boldest class in our program. And it's bold because we took a chance, and Lisa and I can tell you, colleagues, that we would say, we're going to give a change management plan to our graduate students, and they're going to tell us what's wrong with our program. And they were like, what are you thinking? You don't open your students up to tell you what's wrong with your program. And, yes, we do evaluations, but we look at it as an evaluation, not as an educational tool. That was the dynamic that changed everything. When we said, this isn't perfect, it's not going to be, we're flawed humans, they're flawed humans. Let's show them that we can take whatever we're doing, make mistakes. It's what we do with those mistakes that's going to be the difference, not the fact we made them. And then we can have dialogues about organizational culture and how you want to find a culture where you go to work that accepts mistakes so that you can be brilliant because
Right.
nobody's brilliant without mistakes.
I kind of got a little bit of some tingles there just listening to her. That's kind of so wonderful. I'm going to have to listen to this every morning.
Just think about the survey process that we have. A survey is sort of like a check of the box, right? They're just, okay, I think this, 1 to 10, how do you feel? In this opportunity, they're actually given a space where they are giving recommendations of what that change is going to be. So they're saying, okay, I really don't like this part of the process because of this, because they have to give us a reason why it doesn't work. They can't just say it just doesn't work. They have to say why it doesn't work. And we give them the steps each week, the scaffolding, right? Each week they're given a step and why those steps are important to create before they actually present at the end of the semester for the change plan. And so then that when they give us that plan, they're actually giving the recommendation of what that change. So it's not just checking a box to say, yes, I like this, or no, number one, it's too, it doesn't work for me. It's not effective. They're saying it's not effective because of this, and this is what I would do differently because I learned that this works better. And this is how I would process it. And it's just, it empowers them. It's amazing the empowerment that they feel and the information we get from it. It's wonderful.
And it empowers them not only for this class, but for all the other classes that they're taking and for the jobs or their home or wherever they're at the same time. So it's kind of like a therapy, all improvement kind of deal.
On a higher level, we are also requiring that they trust us. We're creating an environment that we want them to model, which is trustworthy and transparent. So it's authentic leadership operating in a transparent environment. And if they can do that, they're going to create the trust and then they'll go much further. And that's what we want to model in all the classes, is that idea. Because if you can be an authentic leader, you're going to be ethical. I don't have to talk to you about ethics. You're going to automatically do that. But you're going to be trustworthy. And Lisa and I model that all the time.
Right. This whole course was a scaffold, a step-by-step in getting them to be comfortable in talking about their experience with COVID-19 and how they can transition themselves to be good learners, to be successful learners during this process and actually implement something that's going to help them make change. And I have to tell you, we had one particular student who at the end of the semester was telling us, because she wouldn't even be seen in the very, very beginning. And at the end, she told us how this program, this particular course, had really opened her eyes and more comfortable she felt at the end. And so that just meant the world to me that this worked. The system works and gets students to start to build, to get themselves out of that darkness, that hole that we all kind of fell into really quickly with COVID-19. And how do we cope with it? And how do we make change so that we can dig ourselves out of it? And so this was one of those opportunities that Sandi and I took the challenge and we rose with it because we are the dynamic duo.
You guys are amazing. One of the reasons why Karrie and I love doing this video series is because we get to have this time to hear these stories about student stories and professor stories and ideas on things to change, like discussion boards or anything like that. But one of the side effects that has happened, and Karrie, let me know if you agree, is that I now really want to take that class.
I do too. I already have my master's degree, and I'm thinking it might be time for a second master's degree. I don't know.
Before we end, I really was just hoping to ask Sandi about the TED Talk that you have started doing, because I'm obsessed with TED Talks and we play TED Talks in our classes all the time and I listen to them for fun and I force my husband to listen to them. So knowing that you are doing TED Talks, I would just love to hear more about it.
When we first started, I was looking for something that captured the essence of the biggest fear humans have, which is public speaking. And if I could help them to overcome public speaking as leaders, they're more apt to share great ideas, but they're also more apt to ask other people their great ideas. And that's what TED Talks are. They're ordinary people sharing incredible things. And so we set out to have people do it. One of the things I never expected would happen is that people would get up and it would become a catharsis for them. It would become an opportunity to share something that is so within them. And they might not have felt like there was any other place in the world to share it other than maybe, I don't know, a confessional. But what happened is every student would stand up and they would own the stage for 10 minutes, maybe 15. And they would tell a story. And I think storytelling is a critical element of all leadership. If you can't tell a story, you can't lead, because nobody can know what you want them to do. So students started saying something. And I mean, we had everything from a student who stood up and shared that his sister killed herself. And he literally said to me, I felt like I finally buried my sister because I could say this in this safe space. And safe spaces within leadership are critical. And we've had students get up and tell, my parents kicked me out when I was 15 and pregnant, and how she went on to become a leader in her hospital, taking chances, building things. The bottom line is they shed a layer of themselves in front of their group. The cohort was then really reinforced, but this student had lived through it. They lived through it, and because they lived through it, they were comfortable enough to go and do something else. But many students say, now that I've done a TED Talk, there isn't a presentation, there isn't an interview that scares me because I lived through that. And we talk a lot about, the people that love you in the morning and love you at night, that anything that happens in between, it's just the stuff of life. And so they knew that by standing up and telling their stories. I think it is a vital part. And the one of the few things that I say to people when they take leading organizational change, you can never take away the TED Talk. So if we go on the assumption the TED Talk is sacrosanct, and it really is, because a lot of our students are introverts. And when an introvert gets their voice, it changes a dynamic for them significantly.
Did you mention that there's going to be like a TEDx Goodwin in some 2022 or something?
Yeah,
like that?
we had already started conversations about it.
Right.
We
had already started the committee.
Yeah, we have a committee, and we just had put it on hold. The university happened and then COVID happened. But we're coming back to it because this is where brilliance happens, with ordinary people with extraordinary stories. And, we start our whole program off with Drew Dudley. If you've never seen Drew Dudley, Little Moments.
Write it down.
Yes, it is.
Lollipop moments, right?
Lollipop moments. It is one of the best
Very good
videos. And he makes leadership a small thing that you can hold on to instead of this massive thing. And it sets the tone for everything we do in the program. So it's just a continuation that they do their own TED Talks.
I give you guys kudos too for you as educators, because you have built that safe, structured environment where your students feel it's okay to come and speak and do this TED Talk or present to their peers in a safe environment. So that's huge. So kudos to both of you. Nice job. That's absolutely fantastic.
I'm really excited for the live edition UDL ERA video series at TEDx Goodwin, or whatever it's called.
Yes, whatever it will be.
Yes.
I just want to say thank you, ladies, so much for taking time out of your very busy days to meet with us and tell us these wonderful stories and share all of your great ideas.
It was absolutely fantastic.
Thank you. I just want to say one thing before we close. I really hope we can inspire more of our faculty to start to seek out someone in a different area, to avoid silos by picking somebody and starting to work with them, like you two do, like Lisa and I do. We're not in the same lane, but our lanes are better because we work together.
Absolutely.
And I can't say it enough.
And it's not just at our university. It's not just Goodwin. Like this video is, it goes far and wide.
It
So
does. It
you're
does.
putting that out. You're putting out that
Yay!
Vibe.
the whole
To everyone.
world. Yeah.
I love a good vibe. Don't
Yeah.
you?
I do. I love a good drink too, but that's another whole conversation.
So thank you again,
Thank you
ladies,
both.
so much.
Thank
and
you.
and everybody be up for episode 8. We will be having that coming out very soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.